Epic Gaming Night is sponsored by Analog Gamer. Check out analoggamer.com for epic board gaming apparel.
Have you ever bought a board game when your spouse said no? Have you ever won a game on an insane dice roll? Have you ever killed a dragon using only chopsticks? Do you text your friends to distract them from your current moves? Can you finish off a pizza in between your second and third turn? Can you ride a panda across the plains of Dewey? Do you have what it takes to stop an evil wizard from destroying your village? Do you tell your friends to call you Dungeon Master? Can you muster the strength to play one more game after 2 a.m.? Can you be the chosen one all the way up to bedtime? Have you ever dared to say no and pick your best friend's favorite character anyway? Have you ever randomly shouted nonsense because you thought it would be funny, and it wasn't? Well, we haven't done most of those things either, but we are willing to try. Join us as we explore the world of board gaming and all the crazy things that come with it. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast.
Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast, a podcast about tabletop games, but mostly board games. I'm your host, as always, Roy Kennedy, and with me tonight is Rob.
Hello, hello.
And Stephen Bonacore, our special guest.
Oh, thank you, guys. I feel special already. I appreciate you inviting me on. Thank you.
Awesome. So, Stephen, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Social security number, credit cards, address.
I'll stay away from the numbers if that's okay. I'm Stephen Bonacore, the president and owner of Stronghold Games, and hopefully some of your listeners at least know who I am. If not from the many other podcasts that I've appeared on, but hopefully from some of the games in our lineup, since we've been bringing them out since 2010 now with our flagship game, Survive, Escape from Atlantis, still my biggest selling game, and was one of the first ones in the lineup. And there it is. Oh, look at it. They both got one. Oh, the original one and the 30th anniversary.
Nice.
Very nice. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. So, yeah, you've been on a few podcasts.
I've been on one or two, and there's one of the newer ones, Dark Moon. Okay, you're not going to keep impressing me. I believe that you're buying my games.
Okay. Actually, that's just really big print-offs. With like good
you fake the boxes. That's great. Yeah, I've become known as the Podfather. The fact that I'm on like every known gaming podcast to mankind, and it's part of the strategy. It's because I don't want to be. From the beginning, it was all about being just part of of gaming. I mean, before the show started, Rob and I were talking about my other background, not only education and in financial services for my entire career in IT and financial services. So I wanted to bring my business background, my educational background, to something that I can really have a passion for. It's very hard to have passion for IT and very hard to have a passion for financial services, but it's really easy when you love something as much as all of us, you guys, and everybody else listening to this, who love gaming. It's easy to bring that passion to this, and in doing that, I wanted to be out there amongst everybody and making sure that I could spread the word, through these appearances. So I mean, I think I've done a decent job of doing that over the years.
Oh, come on, everybody! If you've played a board game, you have to know who Stephen Bonacore is. At least in the last 2 or 3 years, I've seen you show up more and more and more. Yeah. I mean, you are blowing it up, and
thank you, man. Thank you.
I love your attitude and your energy. I mean, you're not shy. You're fun. You're not, to be rude, but that typical board game nerd. You're out there, and you have a good time, and you're goofy, and I love all the jabs that you go back and forth with everybody else, and so. Yeah, I was super excited when Roy told me that we're going to get a chance to talk with you, just because you are the owner that I would want to work for a game company.
Is this your
interview?
No.
You sending me the resume tomorrow?
Actually, it's the email's ready. I was just waiting for you to laugh or not, and I'm going to hit send here in a second.
There you go. No, but it's true. I mean, I thank you very much for saying those things and recognizing them. But it is true. I mean, it's I'm just one of you guys, and I mean I just had it. I just tried hard to get to where I am, and my motto has been for the last many years. A little hard work doesn't kill anybody. So while it's been a difficult struggle to juggle both a real job and Stronghold Games, I think that that hard work has paid off, and the relationships that I've built, both the ones with gamers, and just as importantly, the ones across the world with other publishers to bring great games from Europe to the U.S. I think it's really paid off, and last year was an absolute astonishing banner year, and then I said to myself, I can't do this again. I can't work this hard. It's just killing me. And then I basically doubled the amount of stuff I did and the amount of work I did, just because it sort of just had to happen. There was a natural outflow from what I was doing to just continuing to scale it up, and I would really and truly like not to try to double it again for next year in 2016, and I think I won't. I think I'm going to focus a little bit more, and I've got some ideas. Not that I can share them yet because they haven't been announced. They're coming soon.
Okay.
But Stronghold Games is definitely here to stay. And I think that the business model has really proven itself out over the last few years.
Awesome, man.
I would absolutely agree.
Thank you, man.
Well, I think we should just go ahead and jump right into the questions here we have for you, sir.
Got it.
So our topic
Are these
tonight,
your questions, or are these like listener or viewer questions? I just want to know.
These are our questions. These are what Epic Gaming Night wants to know.
Yeah, we're being very selfish tonight. We're taking full advantage of our time with you.
All right, you got it. Whatever. Just let's ask the questions and I'll answer them.
So our topic's all about Stronghold Games tonight. So our first thing is, how did Stronghold Games get started?
The way that every good business decision is made over beer and gambling in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It's
nice.
It's where the meeting of the minds came. I had a business partner when we first started. We actually physically met there for the first time, and we kind of signed the papers. But before that, I'd kind of started talking about that a minute ago. It was really I thought that I was able to bring a substantial business background into a passion. So I had followed and continued to follow the industry throughout the early, late 90s and early 2000s, and watched the growth. And I said, I think I can bring something here. So then there were, traumatic changes in the U.S. economy and in, and for many businesses. And once that all kind of settled in after, 2008 was the big year. Lehman Brothers went down. The world economy almost went down. And after that all settled in, and 2009 and things started settling out, I said, it's a good time to maybe start this business and see if I can do this at the same time as continuing another job. And out of some of that, brain thought and how we would position ourselves in the market, out came Stronghold Games, and then we released our first games in 2010.
That's actually like amazing. So you still, I mean, I guess you do Stronghold full time and your other job full time, pretty much, right?
Essentially, that is the case. Yeah, no, I can't for the even pretend not to say that Stronghold Games doesn't take a full time amount of work. A full 40 hours. In fact,
if you were able to do what you do, not doing it full time, that would be mad scientist level.
I know.
Not to say that you're not there, but I mean, with all the cons that you go to, with all the interviews, with all the games and all the production, there's no way that it's not 40+ hours a week.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is, and I'm simply just attempting to do the hard work it takes to grow this, and I have a feeling, and I've hinted at this a few times. I have a feeling that 2016 is the year that one of them ends, and it ain't going to be Stronghold. I'll tell you that much right now.
Well, congratulations.
I have to focus on continuing the path of Stronghold, and in the end, it's going to be a good thing for everybody, for myself and for gamers, because I will be able to focus more and be able to put more effort into the parts of Stronghold that need that. I need to
Yeah.
put more effort into marketing. I mean, obviously, I'm doing these things. This is
Yeah.
this is easy. This is the fun and easy part. But there's certainly business decisions and business issues that I could be focusing on more as the president of the company, and not having to, then worry about the other job, the other life. So. I think that we'll get to that point at some point during 2016. Let's crossing my fingers and praying a little bit on that.
Can I ask a quick question that's not on script?
Sure, anything.
Is that all right, Roy?
Yeah.
Oh,
How far back does your love for gaming go? Like, did you grow up playing games, or
Absolutely.
yeah? Okay.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. That question gets asked a lot. So, like, where, how did you become a gamer? What kind of, where did it start? And it literally started when I was a child, very young. Family played all of the standard mass market games, Monopoly and Sorry and that kind of stuff. Played games with my friends. Of course, then it was all, of course, board games and things like that. So it was kind of what it is now, but just the mass market version.
Yeah.
I went from that and I went into, as computers kind of took hold, I went into computer gaming on an Apple II at first, an IBM PC, all the old stuff. I also went through CCGs. I went into MMOs. I did a lot of role playing. I would still be doing role playing if I had time. I'm an old school D&D player. I mean, I wish I had a D&D group. I could get into one. I just don't have the time anymore to do it, to dedicate. But the important point is that I went the full spectrum, and then in like the mid late 90s, when the Euro game rush came and Catan came over from overseas, and these other great games, Puerto Rico, Amon-Re, great games from Europe. I basically said, this is the style of gaming that I like. I like the fact that we sit around a table and we all share this experience together. Versus sitting across on a computer alone. Back in the day, there was barely an internet. Sit there on a computer and play something just alone, or play it like an MMO over the internet when you're just some avatar and you're just playing it. But this experience, when we're all together in the same location playing a game, that's what I like, and I have forever stuck with that one, and I essentially have given up. I don't play almost anything digital, even iOS. I don't play stuff on my phone or on my iPad. I'm a gamer, physical pulp, gamer. I play with people in front of me.
Yeah, awesome. I feel like I've got turned that way a lot. Like, I used to play tons of video games, and video games were cool when you were playing them together with your friends, sitting on the same couch. But you sit in front of computers so much these days that in your leisure time, it's nice to actually interact with other people face to face.
Yes.
So
I do two things in my leisure time. I play board games and I watch TV. That is it. I don't touch anything else. When I sit in front of a computer, every other moment of my life essentially, and I want the disconnect from that, and I want some interaction with people, and then when I need some downtime, I'll watch some of the better geek television. That's my life right now.
The Walking Dead.
That's so funny you mentioned The Walking Dead. I just was catching up right before this on not the last episode, but the one before that, and because I'm 2 episodes
Morgan?
behind. Don't say yes.
Oh man, so good.
No spoilers, guys.
And it was funny. It was an hour-and-a-half episode. I figured, I can get this in before I got a gun on the podcast. And I thought it was an hour, but it was an hour and a half, so I couldn't get the whole. So I got 15 minutes waiting for me when I get back after this.
Oh no.
Oh man, it's great. You're gonna like it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
Awesome. But yeah, me and Rob were talking about the wide variety of games that Stronghold has. You guys have a lot of games that are kind of Ameritrashy and cooperative ones, and Euros, the full spectrum. We're super into Ameritrash thematic games here, but it's awesome that Stronghold has the whole spectrum of games under what you guys make.
And that was a specific decision that I made a long time ago. I wanted to, first of all, any company's got to put games in the catalog that are going to sell, or else you're not going to have a viable enterprise, right? That's period number one. You have to sell games, or you might as well not be in business. But besides playing games that I like, and I like the American style games, that's my thing too. My favorite game, people have heard me say this 100 times,
War of the Ring.
Is War of the Ring. Look, here's a fan right there. War of the Ring is my absolute favorite game in the world. Rolling buckets of dice, very amazingly thematic. So that is sort of my style. But I got into the midweights and the heavyweight Euros because there's call for that.
Yeah, there's a market. Yeah.
And in the end, the basic statement about Stronghold Games is I want every gamer out there to look at Stronghold and say, well, what are they doing in that genre of gaming? I don't want to be pigeonholed. I don't want to be a Euro game company. I don't want to be an American style company. Basically, I have right now, besides the non board game segments like like miniatures and stuff like that, that doesn't count, and collectible card games, that's a different segment of gaming and hobby gaming. I'm right now in every segment of board games, with the exception of war games, and I will change that at some point soon. So I really want people to look at the entirety of the catalog, come to Stronghold and say, what are you doing in mid the lightweight Euro games? Find the games I have out there and hopefully try those out. That was a conscious decision early on, and I think that I've succeeded because I really do have that wide spectrum of games that you mentioned.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. And they're all huge hits. I mean, I remember Panamax last year was an absolute huge hit. Diamonds is still going strong for you.
Thank you. Yep.
Roy and I love Battlestar Galactica. And that's actually, I picked up Dark Moon about 3 weeks ago because it's the hour and a half version of Battlestar Galactica. So I'm excited to play that. Survive. I mean, you really do have a great just plethora and variety of different games.
Thank you for recognizing that. I do appreciate it. And it makes me feel good that, I mean, you've mentioned some of the ones that I like actually the most.
Yeah,
Dark Moon is currently my favorite game in my catalog, because I do love Battlestar Galactica too. I've always loved that game. I mean, I love the theme of the game, but of course I love the fact that it's a hidden traitor where betrayal is at every moment of that game. But the problem with the game, of course, is that it's a 3 to 4 hour marathon, especially if you add in expansions and stuff like that. It goes on forever.
And when you have two full-time jobs, you don't have time for that.
When do you have time for that? And when do you have time to get your game group together? And that it's problematic. But you can pull out Dark Moon if you have an hour, and you can play it once you know those rules. You absolutely can play that game an hour 15, even with the full complement of players. And yeah, it is. It really, to me, is one of the best hidden traitor games out there, and especially for the fact that it is fast and to the point, and the hidden traitors stay hidden in that game more than anything else you'll find. So, Robert, awesome. You got to get that game to the table. It's you're gonna love it.
It will get there soon. Absolutely. Okay.
We need to do it this weekend.
Let's do it on Saturday.
It's not hard, man. It's really not a hard game to learn. You could, I mean, I would read the rules first, but it's easy to pick that game up and just start going with it.
Done.
Awesome. Can you tell us about some of your other brands? I know you have like a whole line of like Space Cadets stuff, and I have like Dice Duel, and we play that a lot. That's like crazy dice rolling game. Can you tell us about some of that stuff?
Yeah, I have several like what I consider lines of games. You mentioned Space Cadets, so that's the perfect one to talk about. Jeff Engelstein and family, the originators of Space Cadets, they pitched me that game. And then we together came up with the name Space Cadets. It was amazing that wasn't taken because it's such a great name. And Space Cadets in general is my cooperative or team-based game, team versus team game, where you are in some way set into space and you're on a mission. So the original Space Cadets is a fully cooperative game. You're manning the bridge of a non-IP infringing starship like Enterprise, excuse me, and you're out there trying to achieve some goal and fend off the enemies, probably destroy some bad guys and stuff like that, warp out of the zone, and you win. That was the launch of that IP in 2012. It did great. It's in its third printing already. Awesome. Big game, lots of rules. Hard to teach that game. So
lots of mini games.
Yeah, lots, right. There's 7 mini games, almost like you have to learn 7 games. Not every one of those games is as easy as anything, but that one person that teaches that game sometimes gets a little nutty because he's got to like teach 7 different games to 7 people. We always tell people to go watch the videos for each one of the stations because it makes it a lot easier when you actually sit down and play and say, "Oh, okay, well I'm the captain, so this is the things I do as the captain, etc." Then Jeff pitched me, said, "You know what? That game, we learned a lot. All those, rules and stations. We did a speed game where it's just about how fast can you roll dice, allocate the dice to other people, maneuver your ship, put up shields, put up your jammers and stuff, and it's easy and streamlined. And that's a game you literally can teach to people in like 10 to 15 minutes, and you're off to the races. And the game is a 20-30 minute game, and after you play it, you're sweating. It's like the only board game you can play where you work up a sweat because it's so stressful that you are actually doing all of the work in real time. And nothing compares to that game because it's team versus team, real time, dice rolling, starship combat. I mean, those words are not used in the same sentence in any other game in the industry.
Everybody has a different role that like they each have a different part. One person's moving the ship, one person's shooting the guns. Like it's super crazy.
And you're all screaming at each other.
Yeah,
the captain. And if you play it with the full complement, it's great. It's the full complement in the base game is a 4-on-4 game. You have a captain who's yelling at the 3 people on how to allocate the energy, how to put up the shields on the port side, load the aft torpedoes, and everyone's trying to do what they're trying to do. Listen to the captain, take the dice from other people. It really is unique, and that's a great sort of gamer party game.
Yeah.
And then this year, so we had those in 12 and 13, and then there was a little lull period where we were evaluating something else, another space game, and then I thought to myself that this game would work really well in the Space Cadets universe, so we did a new game, fully cooperative, called Space Cadets Away Missions. And this, if there's going to be one game that's going to be put on my tombstone, as Bonacore did this, it's going to be Space Cadets Away Missions, because it is a big game with 100 plus plastic miniatures, unlike the new Cool Mini or Not or Fantasy Flight game with all these crazy miniatures in the box. But it is not only beautiful to look at, but the game just plays wonderfully. We have 20 missions in the box itself, and in this game, this is a thematic prequel. We're going back in time. We're now adventuring out into the solar system, and we find that there's aliens all over the solar system, and we now have to they're about to invade Earth. We're going to take the war to them now, and we have to go on to their space stations and their ships and explore them. Aliens are going to be popping out all over, and we have to attack them and destroy them. And there's a mission that you have to objectives you have to achieve to do that cooperatively. And the brilliant mechanic in this game is what we call the overkill system. And here, when you roll your dice, lots of nice Ameritrashy rolling dice, you roll your dice to succeed in shooting. Most of the times you're shooting at an alien in the same square or one of the other ones. If you have ranged weapons, you're shooting at them. If you get more than one success, the other ones are applied to overkill. You don't do more damage. You then can take options of the weapon, of your character, or the overkill option on the alien itself to do very heroic things. And this game is going to end up giving you this kind of a thematic experience. Do you remember that time where I shot him? I got 3 extra overkills, and I was able to move to the next square, pick up the neuronic hyperbolizer, shoot the other guy, and you have this whole story that you're going to be able to tell as you relive the experiences with your friends from those days. And that's exactly what we tried to do with that. Give that great table experience to everybody, and set in the in a thematic prequel to Space Cadets. Very happy.
I'm now going to have to buy that. Because that's exactly what we do. I mean, we play games together because we love the stories and everything that comes about it. I mean, Roy he's one of the best storytellers that I've met, but he's just I mean, you take it away, but just all the craziness that we have, it's a blast.
We're super into stories and the experiences that board games make. That's why we're super into thematic games. I come from a role playing. I played a ton of Gamma World and D&D back in the day. So I'm all about the story that you make in these games, and I think that's why we're so much into thematic and Ameritrash stuff, because they have a huge narrative, and you're talking about the games weeks later about, oh yeah, remember that time we did that, and sometimes even months, years later, remember when we played that game and that thing happened. That's what we're always trying to do.
And you really definitely want to play Space Cadets Away Missions if that's the kind of style you want. Assuming you also like cooperatives, because it is a fully cooperative game, but it's gonna weave a story arc that you're just going to talk about, and the game is not easy. So you're gonna have, it's gonna be you're gonna do some of those middle missions, the first couple of ones we make it easy, but you're gonna try for one of those the 5th or 6th mission, and it's gonna take a while to get it. But when you finally defeat the aliens on that mission, it's going to be the high-fiving and the wow, how did we do that? And you're going to be talking about it over lunch the next day kind of experience. We've really put a lot of effort into creating that wonderful story for Space Gets Away missions.
Awesome.
It's my only game that I kickstarted, and I had to prove the model that there were people that were looking for a $100 game from Stronghold Games, and I certainly did, because we did great on that, and the game came out at the end of September and continues to sell very well for us. I think it's going to be something that we're going to be selling well into the future.
Awesome. Everything all right, Roy?
Yep. Awesome. So
you look a little like nervous there, Roy. What happened?
Just Skype's being weird. Awesome.
Okay.
So next question. So what are some of the steps to like getting a game published and on store shelves? I'm sure it's a huge process, but like if there was a quick version, which I'm sure there's probably hard to make that happen, but what would that be?
That's I mean that like we could spend 2.5 hours on how to how to become a publisher. But
I bet.
I mean I'll give you the high level version. You can ask questions after that. But find game, right? I mean, find the game design that actually makes sense for you and for your catalog. One that you can be passionate about, because even while not every one of the games that I have in my catalog is one that is something that it's a go-to game. Like I've played Kanban. That's my biggest, heaviest Euro of all. I've played it, but it's not one that I'm going to be pulling off the shelf very often because it's not the style I have. But I know that that's the greatest, one of my absolute favorite heavy Euro game designs out there. It's one of the best game designs out there for that genre. You got to find a game that you can get fully behind, number one. And that could be an original design. Most publishers go after absolute original designs. Stronghold Games has made a mark doing that, but as well as either finding the older games to bring back. That sort of has ended now because that well is sort of dried up. I mean, after a certain period of time, all of those games have been published, all the ones that should come back. Now, what we do a lot is we go to Essen and we constantly stay in contact with the European and Asian publishers, and we bring their games over to the United States and the rest of the world because they usually have very small distribution. So that's a very important part of the model. Find the game. And then after that, you have to have relationships with many, or at least one really good printer that you trust who will always give you good prices, or several that you can bid them out to. And when you bid out something, you have to make sure you understand, and this is not something that everybody's going to have on the first try. Well, what thickness cardboard do you need, and what size meeples do you need, and what size board is right? And you should work with someone, a printer who can guide you through some of those things. And I'm at this point, I'm an expert obviously at production issues, but every time I do a game, and I print most of my stuff at Ludofact Germany, which I believe is the highest quality printer in the world, or certainly in that upper pantheon. Every time I print a game, I'll say, Frank Yeager, my contact there, I'll say, Frank, so if I'm going to do this, what's the optimal method and ways to do it? Here's a small example. It just comes to my head. We're about to do, and I can't tell you what the game is. We're about to do. Oh, you can
say it. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm sure you would like me to. Yeah. I'm about to do another card game in the Pocket line, which is what Diamonds is in, and I haven't done another one in that line yet. It's been over a year now. We have not brought another one out because I haven't found another game to put in there. So I said, Frank, so I'm going to be doing this card game, and I'm going to be doing full bleed cards, meaning not a card with no borders, and that's very different than doing a card with borders. I'm thinking, so what is the maximum number of cards I can put on a print sheet before I go to the next thing? So we had to work on that to make sure that I didn't say, well, I need if I need 105 cards in the game. That's a big difference than if I need only 100 cards in the game, under those circumstances. So, you got to have somebody you can work with and will work with you on the specs and will be able to tell you why you want to make certain decisions versus other ones. So that's just another portion of the process. And
have you run into that yet, where you had to change possibly the campaign or the idea of the game because of publishing the game? For example, that 100 card versus the 105. Has that really altered a game for you yet, or not in an absolute material way? This was
for this particular one, what the heck was that? That was a great sound.
So,
I don't.
Steve Avery is trying to hijack into our call because I accidentally clicked his name at the beginning. I'm pretty sure he's on here now because he keeps calling back. So that's what I'm struggling with. So he's been trying to listen to you talk, and he's trying to troll you, I think.
Steve Avery, can you please hang up? And you're not supposed to be on this call. That's. I love Steve. He's awesome. I don't know why.
We're gonna hang out with him some this weekend. So.
Oh, are you? Oh, that's cool. You guys are from the Atlanta area, or the?
Oh, well, we're in North Carolina, but he is. There's a con going on in North Carolina called Mace, and he's coming up to shoot some people with his rubber band guns.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know if his audio's not working or if that's just where the static's coming from, but
I'll see him at BGG Con. Are you guys gonna be there, by the way? I mean,
I wish.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I can't this year.
A little ways.
You really have to get there. It is my single favorite convention of the year, without a doubt. Well, let me finish that thought, so just so we can have a final thought for the audience. And so the short answer is, we were still in the planning stage, so the designer was working with us at a time. So whether it was 105 or 100 cards, we were able to easily do that. Sometimes you need to make decisions, but we've never had a problem where, like, oh my God, because in the end. Yeah. To make that great game, I'm going to spend more or less whatever it takes to do that. So if it's going to cost me X amount more, and I'm going to add to the game's value, I'm going to do it. I just have to make sure that the game is still profitable for me and the game is going to sell. So, and the final portion of that, after you get the printer and they do the good work, the logistics of it is a very important thing. You have to have a reliable freight forwarder who can get the games from various portions of the world, either in China or in Europe, and bring them over. And I certainly have some good contacts there too. So that's in a nutshell, that's the process. But there's more details than we could spend on 10 podcasts to talk about it all. We can talk about every portion of that on one podcast, and we'd still, not even have a full picture of what it takes.
Scratch the surface. Oh yeah.
That's like crazy and huge, like all the stuff that goes into it. So
yeah.
Well, can you imagine having to print that extra sheet times, let's say 10,000? Now because you have so many cards, and 10,000, that adds up, and then you have to ship all of that stuff over. So it's a huge deal, and so that's why I was kind of asking, because for some companies that are not as liquid as Stronghold Games, like that could make or break their company. I mean, it could.
Yeah,
you're talking about overseas production.
Sure, and every penny can. Excuse me, every penny counts. And believe me, my cash flow is never a layup. I've mentioned the word creative financing that comes into play at this time of year, where you have to juggle, like, well, where are you going to get the money to pay this month's bills, and so then you can get the revenue from next month to then roll in. It's a nice, interesting juggling act. So yeah, it's interesting, and it's funny, and I really enjoy the business end of this industry, and I want to make this very, very clear to everybody, and I speak about designers in this industry in the absolute most high regards. They're the backbone. They're the ones who have put this game out there in front of me to then do. I am not a designer at all. I cannot design games. That's not what I do. Like, look at my buddy Ignacy Chevicek at Portal Games. Not only is he the president of the company, he's a designer. He puts his creative efforts mostly into doing that. Colby over at Plaid Hat, that's what he loves to do. Loves the creative end. I mean, he sort of sold his company just so that he didn't have to deal with the business. I love the business end of this. I then go and look for really smart people to put around me who can do the design of these games that I can then bring over to.
That's just good leadership. That's just good leadership. So.
Thank you. I like to think of it as like finding good, smart people and good designers to work with.
What do you guys work for, or what do you guys do, like, with development end of that stuff? Do you have, like, any overseeing, or do you, like, mark that out to, like, different people that you have develop stuff for you?
A little bit of both, but mostly it has to go out to various playtest groups. I have a couple of developers that I work closely with. I'll give a big shout out to Paul Inkeo. He without Paul, for instance, Kanban would never have come into existence. Vitalis Serda, who is a genius game designer, he did Vinos, he did CO2 with me, then he did Kanban with me. He's a genius, but like most game designers, they're so close to that design that they need someone else that they can work with to smooth out the rough edges, to say this kind of just needs to be cut and this needs to be more developed. And Paul has done such great work with me. Another gentleman, Steve Rogers, he does this great work. He did Panamax and did phenomenal work on that. So I try to bring, again, just really smart people who can be really in touch with the games and the designs, and farming out other things to play test groups to make sure. When we did, for instance, we did Dark Moon. That's one where I don't know the number, but it was over 10 different different play test groups got a copy of the prototype and churned that away and got back to Evan Derrick, the designer. And he got to a really, really tight game design in the end there. So, kudos to all those people that do help us out with that, because no, I couldn't do that and do all of the rest of the stuff the Stronghold Games needs to have done.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But maybe next year you could.
I could do more of it, but you're
not officially, but yeah,
you're always going to need more people. And these people are not necessarily paid. Of course, they're volunteers or they're working for games. Shout out also to my demo team, the Knights of the Stronghold, who obviously just work, to get to be part of it. And to get games and to be hanging out with me in the booth and stuff like that. This industry runs on volunteers to such a large degree. It really does. And guys like you who do a tremendous service for the industry by, when you're not sitting around that table hanging out and having a gaming experience, you're out there talking about games with jerks like me, just so that other jerks out there are listening to these things. So we're continuing to have a conversation about this to improve the industry together. So it really does run on people like you guys that can to continue spreading the word. And you don't do it for any money. You just do it because you love talking and you love doing this kind of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're super hyped about board games all the time, and I think that's why like almost everybody is in this industry. Is like, people that are getting paid, people that aren't getting paid, people that just play the games. Like, there's just a huge like love of board games.
Oh man, there's such a huge passion.
What is like your favorite part of like the whole board gaming industry?
Ooh, just my favorite part of the industry. That's very big question. Like I said, I do love the business aspects of everything because I excel at that from my background. But I think that really, but that's sort of like not necessarily passion, right? Because that's not playing. That's just being smart about business. I think while the convention season is, oh my God, stressful, and oh my God, long, and oh my God, tiring. The fact that doing the travel and getting out there and getting the booths ready and giving a great experience to gamers, that's got to be really high on the list of what I love about the industry. We're talking about, of course, not about the gaming portion, because everyone would just like to play games. If I had my druthers, I'd say like, okay, produce games, I'm going to go play them. Of course I can't do that. So the playing portion has to come almost secondary to everything else. But really when I'm out there and I'm hanging out and being in the midst of all of you guys and the people who love games, that's where it's at. And that's why, and by the way, that's why BGGCon coming up next week, which you guys should be there for, and you'll be there next year. You'll be there next year, I know that. That's why that is my favorite convention. It's the end of the season. We do some good business there, but I get to really, really, really just hang out with gamers.
You get to be a fan.
Basically, I get to be a fan. Nobody leaves the hotel, essentially. You go out, maybe you do a quick dinner. You go out, you run out to the Heart 8, the great barbecue place that's close by. There's no like... it's at the airport hotel, so there's no like city that you can go out to Dallas or something, go into the suburbs, but it's too hard to do that and stay there. Not like Indianapolis or Columbus, where you can just walk around the city. So you go out, you have dinner, or you eat in the hotel, and then you game, and have some beers and hang out and socialize. That's what BGGCon's about, and so I really love that. That's I guess, my favorite part of the industry. Being able to do that and kind of, being a celebrity, in the little way that I am, and to hang out and get noticed and talk to you guys about games more.
It's awesome. How many conventions does Stronghold Games go to, like, in a year normally?
Conventions alone, we do the major ones. We do Origins, and we even added this past year. So we did. Oh my God!
Run yourself ragged.
We did BGG Family, which now is BGG Spring. Which actually, I gotta really give a shout out for that, man. If you can't make BGG Con, try to come out to the Spring Convention, man. It's just a smaller version of the same thing. Still has that same great energy. So we did BGG Spring, Origins. I won't talk about the local ones yet. Gen Con, Essen, and now BGG Con. Those are the major ones. I do 4 local New Jersey conventions. And then I do like several. This year only like 3 or 4 of them, and next year 5 or 6 trade shows across the country. Those are the ones where the consumers aren't there. It's publishers going to a distributor's show, a distributor's open house, and the retailers show up. So we're showing the retailers our games, giving presentations to retailers to bring them on board and make sure that they understand what's happening, at the individual companies, at Stronghold Games, of course, in my for me.
That's awesome.
So that's a lot of shows, a lot of traveling. People sometimes get upset that I'm not answering emails fast enough, but I'm the guy answering every one of those emails too, which I got to get somebody to start doing. But I'm that guy answering all the emails for, like, I'm missing this meeple, or hey, can I can I be your next illustrator? All those emails that come into the customer service, that's me answering them. So it takes a while to do that. So sorry for not getting back to some of your emails.
I almost want to email you just so you respond. I almost want to just send in something.
So you'll be 400th in queue. I will get to it by Sunday. Promise.
Go ahead. You'll just clog up the queue. Don't do it, man. These games have a deadline. They need to be met.
That's right.
Yes.
And next week is BGG Con. I'm still not ready for it.
That's awesome, man.
Well, I know we kind of already discussed what your favorite tabletop game is. Did you get the new expansion for that yet? The newest one is supposed to come out in November. Is it out yet, or are you that amazing?
I know you have like the collector's edition, right?
Yeah, very good, right? you guys do listen to me on other podcasts. I have the collector's edition of War of the Ring, which includes that, the original expansion, and I have the upgrade kit that brings me to the second edition rules and stuff like that. Yeah. I did not pick up the that new expansion that I wanted to pick up in Essen. I think they had some at Essen. I just didn't get a chance to get over there, and I'm not 100% sure that it's compatible. It certainly isn't. It isn't painted like my edition.
Right.
But I'm not 100% sure that it's compatible with my edition. But I'm sure that at some point they will release something that'll meld them all together. I do have the Warriors
Lords of Middle-earth.
Yeah, the Lords of Middle-earth. I have that. So I have the collector's edition, and I have that. So I haven't, and I have to be completely honest. I haven't played my poor collector's edition now in about a year and a half, which is very, very sad. Just too much. Just that's a big game.
There's a lot going on.
Takes a lot of time. But believe me, if I had a Saturday and my buddy Chad said, "Hey, we're doing this," I'll be like, "Yeah,
done."
Do you have like an epic?
Now that we're talking about this, I'm right now writing a note and saying, over the holidays,
play War of the Ring.
Right now, I'm saying play War of the Ring.
Do you have any like epic stories of something crazy that's happened in a game of War of the Ring?
This is weird, and you guys haven't played it, right? I assume you have not.
I've played a ton. It's like my second favorite game. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, War of the Ring is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, but don't you agree that every game I've played, I've played the game a lot. I don't know, 30 times, I say, something like that. And every game of that I have played, with almost invariably, it comes down the last turn. Either Frodo is about to dunk the ring, dunks the ring, or the 10th point of strongholds, right? Of points on Middle Earth falls to the shadow player.
Yeah.
every game. The game is that balanced, and it's got that randomness of the dice roll. So if the shadow player would have gotten 2 more musters, versus card play or something like that,
Yeah.
dice, they would have been able to do it. But Frodo was able to get the player. What do they call it? There's the regular actions, I forget the name.
Character actions or something like that.
Character actions. He was able to get 3 character actions. He was able to get there. He dunks the ring, done. So it's always comes down to that exact thing, and it's unfathomable how that happens. So I have so many of those kind of stories where that literally has happened. There's been like 2 times in all those plays where the shadow player won more handily than that, and it was always when I was playing the good guys, because I was just having a bad day, I think, and I couldn't beat my buddy who was
the good guys are tough to play.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much going on.
The good guys feel like it's like that's who you want to play because you want to be the fellowship and the good guys, but it's like such a struggle because you're just barely holding on to those strongholds.
When you have to put that guy in the box and you can't get him out of the box, and you look at your bowl later on, and let's just say Minister, it's empty and there's nothing else you can put in there. It's such a gut-wrenching feeling, I can imagine.
It is, and there's literally so many ways to play and so many ways to win. There's so many paths to victory. I give, well, I don't even Fantasy Flight. They don't even have the license anymore. But for years,
no, it's Ares Games now.
Right, for years I've been giving them all this free advertising because I just think the game is brilliant, and now Ares, of course, and it is brilliant. And I've become good friends with the Roberto DeMeglio, the designer of that game. He's such a nice guy, such a smart guy, and they did such a great job in balancing and creating that game. I think that anybody who likes games of conflict has to play that game once. Play it on the regular edition, whatever. Play that game and play it with somebody who knows the rules, because the first time you play it, you're gonna be swimming in the 48-page rule book. You're not going to get it. But if you play with somebody who knows the rules, they'll take you through it. I love playing that game, actually, 3 and 4 players, when you have like 1 or 2 people who really know the rules, and you can take the other guys through the rule set and bring them through, and they'll have a great experience because they'll get the feel for the game, and they'll fall in love with it.
So you like the 3 and 4 player variations of the game?
I absolutely do. It at its heart, it obviously is a 2-player game, and when you're playing with 3 and 4, you're going to extend the time of the game. But again, I'm a social gamer, so I can play with 4 people who are really into the theme and really into the game in general, and hopefully if they also know the rules too, we can move that game forward. And there's some very interesting little nuances to when you play and what cards you're going to pass to each other, and because you can't say certain things, you can say other things. So I do like it, even though it is at its heart, obviously, a 2-player game.
That's awesome.
Do you have the music in the background? Little flute music going on in the background, some water.
You have to have the Lord of the Rings soundtrack whenever you play that game.
I have played Lord of the Ring, the Lord of the Rings soundtrack in the past. I don't always do it because I'm not always by a nice high fidelity system when I'm playing. But yes, I have done that, and it's kind of fun.
Oh, it's the best. Music gets me in the mood. In a lot of different things.
Oh yeah. No, I had a feeling you would go there.
But I love music.
Great stuff.
So.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else at Stronghold Games you'd like to talk about or promote, or anything else you're doing? I know you have a podcast you do too, right?
Yeah, even before we get into that, maybe we'll close with that. But just for the people who are out there who, just to understand what's happening over the next few months, it's been a ridiculously big, few months, several months here. I had 17 releases this year, and some of the big ones that are still upcoming.
Wow.
We have just this week we street dated New Dawn, which is in the Among the Stars universe. This is it is thematically in that universe, but it is very much unlike that game, which is a card drafting game. Now it's a big game of conflict, a 4X style game. And we're doing a big store, what we call the store splash for that, where 60+ stores across the country will have that game demoing for 5+ hours on Thanksgiving weekend, November 28th or 29th, depending on the store. So I just posted today on Board Game Geek. If you go to the New Dawn, my accent's coming out there, my New Jersey accent. Go to the New Dawn entry, and you look at the forums. It's going to show you all the stores that are going to be playing that game for up to 5 hours on one of those days. You can get a nice feel for that. You can have somebody who knows the game teaching the game, one of my Knights of the Stronghold. So that was a big release for us just this week. In 2 weeks, 504.
Yes.
504 is, again, like the biggest of the big Euro game where, by Freedom and Freeze, in the box, 504 different games. Well, essentially 9 modules that when you pick 3 of them, you'll create one of 504 unique experiences for that game. That is November 25th is the street date, so look for that. If that's a game that interests you, a study in game design, a way of looking at games in a completely different way, that one box can have 504 unique ways of playing it. If that interests you, highly recommend getting that copy ordered now, pre-ordered through a major online retailer, or go to your store, your local store, and say, I want this thing because I am what's called allocated. I could not fulfill all the demand for that game. It's very, very hot. That's one of those good problems to have, but it's still a problem because I have to go back and reprint after the game sells. So we will reprint it, so you'll still have an opportunity in 2016. But right now, if that's the game you want, I'm not trying to overhype it, please go find it, because there will be no copies of that by the end of November. It's just going to be out.
Do you have a favorite number for that game that you found so far?
Well, no, because
they're all your favorite.
They're like, do you have a favorite child? No. When I started playing the game, I only played 2 of them, and I watched the 3rd one, and on that alone, I was sold. This was a genius idea. So no, I haven't done that deep exploration like Freedom and Freeze and his guys did. The geeks have already started posting, what their favorites are. So I will point you toward the 504 entry to see what those people are saying. A lot of people are saying the shares, doing the shares in a company one is one of the best combinations. So putting module 9 in one of the possible combinations is a really good one.
I'm interested on how the combat stuff works with being like an Ameritrasher and stuff, like the military stuff in the game works. Because there's different orders that you can put them in too, right?
Yep.
So
absolutely.
What happens when you put it at the top? What happens when you put it at the bottom?
We're just gonna have to buy it and try it all out.
You're gonna have to, or if you were going to Board Game Geek Con, you could try it there, because we're gonna have many tables. I know I keep jamming.
No. Believe me, we'd love to be there. It's just
I work in I work in retail, so that's right there when it's the Super Bowl for Black Friday. So it's hey, let me have off the week before everything goes madhouse. I don't think it's gonna work.
Right. Oh, I hear you. And then after that, the 2 big things that we're doing that were actually delayed into 2016 due to shipments, trying to get things all ready, but was not a bad thing, because now they'll be in a place where much less releases go on, so that's not so bad at all. Porta Nigra, which is a game by Wolfgang Kramer and Mikkel Kiesling, a great design team. In fact, this was put into my Great Designer series as number 1. A new series of games I put out, with 504 being number 2. I happen to sign Porta Nigra first. And this is a beautiful game, very streamlined, medium weight Euro, where you're physically building things across the board. You're physically going to see towers coming across, 3-dimensional plastic towers being built across the board. So people playing this game, people who are not playing the game, they walk by and say, what is going on? This thing looks amazing. And that's what we wanted to have. That plus a great streamlined experience in a medium weight Euro game. I think people are going to love that. And Porta Nigra. That's right. Porta Nigra. Never heard of it? Oh, just go.
Yes, Porta Nigra. Oh yeah, totally.
Of course you do it. Yeah, no, it's got a very lovely rondel type mechanic. It's got card play for your actions. It's something that I think is 504 is this tremendous effort, and it's a lot of rules to wrap your head around, and it's kind of hard to get into that one. Porta Nigra, very, very, very streamlined. It's something that a Eurogamer will really latch onto. Maybe not your style, because I know you guys like more of the American style, but that's going to be a really great thing for that midweight Eurogamer. The final game I'm going to mention is Stronghold 2nd Edition. Not Stronghold Games.
We were just talking about that.
Oh, yeah. This one is your style.
Yes.
While it is streamlined and like a victory point based thing, not truly that wipe
all their guys off the map or whatever.
Guys off maps. There's going to be lots of wiping guys around. This is a tower defense game. You've got the good guys manning the walls of sort of like the it's like the siege of Gondor. They have the good guys manning the walls, and they're all like wooden cut pieces now too in the 2nd edition. You have archers like cut into wood and swordsmen. They're gonna look beautiful. And then you have hordes and hordes and hordes of bad guys, an infinite number of those assaulting the walls, just coming at you. And then and we've streamlined it for the 2nd edition. I wasn't involved with the first. I'm so proud to be part of this with Portal Games, to be part of the 2nd edition. And now Ignacy has streamlined the game, so it's now a 7-turn game. Be playable in that 90-minute period. Will not run on forever, and the rules are much better. This is the kind of game you guys will definitely like to play.
Now,
and
is this a strict two-player game?
Strict 2-player game.
Oh, so one guy is the horde and the other guy is the wall.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, man.
There's no cooperation here, man.
Yeah.
You're going
It's in your face. Yes.
In your face. You're trying to assault the stronghold, get in the walls. The other guy is trying to fend you back. So
when can we expect that?
That is February 3rd. That is the street date of that game.
Awesome.
And Porto Negro was the 2 weeks before that on January 20th.
I've heard amazing things about Stronghold, like the 1st edition, a lot of like really good reviews. I know the guys at Secret Cabal really like it a lot. And it's awesome that like you guys are reprinting it. And it's awesome that Stronghold Games is putting out Stronghold. That's awesome.
Yes.
And that was that literally was a grail game to put into my catalog. I approached Ignacy after, when he was going to do the 2nd edition. I'm like, hey, you're doing another edition. Maybe I can get involved, because he does his own distribution now into the U.S. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. He's like very to the point. Yeah, let's do it. So boom, he just did it. And then that's a great segue into what I'm doing with Portal Games, and that's the podcast. Ignacy Chevicek of Portal Games and Stephen Bonico of Stronghold Games. We started a podcast middle of this year, called Board Games Insider. And Board Games Insider is what it says. Now, you can find out how the industry runs by listening to the podcast. We have a different topic each week. We do 3 different segments. We do a news segment. We talk about what the latest news in the industry is, what we think is important, and we discuss it and why it's important. Then we do this like advice segment where we're taking a topic. How do you get it? How as a designer do you pitch games? How do you deal with crisis when you have a problem with a game? How do you fix things? Things like that. So that's a big advice section. And then finally, what's actually happening within the 2 companies. And it's a very succinct podcast, 30 minutes to the point, in and out, so it doesn't take, like the Secret Cabal. Love the guys. I sponsor their podcast. But that's a 4-hour extravaganza of a podcast. So now we just want to do this every 2 weeks for you, give you a little snippet into the industry and what's going on. We have a guild over at Board Game Geek where you can post questions, and we use those questions on the podcast all the time. So
nice.
I mean, if you want a little bit of this kind of insider information, go over to either boardgamesinsider.com or just go onto the guild and post questions there, and you get the links onto iTunes and listen to our podcast. I guess the final thing I want to say is that visit Stronghold Games over strongholdgames.com. Follow us on Twitter at Stronghold Games, and Facebook it's /Stronghold Games. I thank you guys so much for having me on, man. It's been a pleasure. It really is. Great seeing you.
Absolute pleasure. All ours, man. You have been fantastic. Thanks,
man.
Thank you. Seriously. Thank you so much.
When am I going to see you? Maybe next Origins?
We're talking about doing Dice Tower. We're definitely going to be at Gen Con.
Dice Tower Con. Let's do Dice Tower
Con.
Tickets
go on sale. My issue is I'm a realtor, and my busy season where I make my nut for the year is spring and early summer, and so that's like right in the middle of Dice Tower. So I may buy my ticket not knowing if I'll be able to go, but we'll see. I do want to go to BGG Con. I've had friends that have gone in the past. I used to live in Arkansas. I was only like 5 hours away from from it. I never took advantage of it. But,
Gen Con is awesome, but like the publishers are always so swamped at Gen Con.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, it really is hard at certain conventions to do
and
that.
we will
like,
stalk you online, so you will see us again. We will now tag you on everything. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but Bonacor is now my best friend. So,
of
guys,
course,
let me get that new game. Like, Ares Games, Bonacor War of the Ring. Yeah, I'm friends with him. We need that expansion. Send it here. North Carolina.
He's your biggest fan.
Yeah,
awesome.
You may see a lot of emails where you're randomly tagged in on certain things and you have no idea what's going on. Just know it's from Epic Gaming Night, and we appreciate your time.
Oh my gosh!
I favorite and or retweet everything that I get, depending on what it is. So yeah, absolutely do that. I'm avid on Twitter, and I'm the one. I do have somebody else who's just started monitoring the Twitter feed, so they can add stuff. They don't do the retweets and stuff. That's all me. So if I retweet or favorite thing, that's all on me. So I'll be watching for your stuff, man. And if you put a picture up of one of my games that you're playing, or just a random picture saying playing this tonight, it will be retweeted, and you will have a lot of tweets, a lot of retweets and favorites. I get so many people hitting me with what's that? One of those services that tell you, like, you know, who your most impactful retweets and stuff like that. What's that one called? Oh, I forgot the name of that thing. I constantly get the same people saying Stronghold Games is the most important retweeter of my stuff. I'm like, yeah, there you go. I'm happy that I bring my 17,000 followers to help you guys.
I remember I had a picture of my painted Dice Duel ships, and you retweeted it. Like, everybody's like, oh my gosh, yeah, painted ships. So
very good. I love photos. I absolutely love photos. So you put a photo up, my stuff, it's getting retweeted, guaranteed.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, that's pretty much been a podcast, guys. Thanks, everybody who came out. We stream the podcast live normally on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Epic Gaming Night. But thanks, everybody who's listened to this podcast, and we'll check you guys out later.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much for coming on, Steven.
Steven,